I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, it's Lauren Kling. Welcome to another episode of What We Do in the Shadows, the after show here on AfterBuzz TV. This is episode 4, The Curse. I am joined by always as my good friend Kevin. How are you, Kevin?
Hey, I am great. I love this episode. This was probably my favorite episode of the entire series.
Yeah, we were talking just beforehand of the fact that there were just only a couple of really main themes in this whole episode. And you want to elaborate on what you meant by that?
Well, I just thought it was a very tightly written episode. There was the A plot, there was the B plot. They overlapped and they kind of came together a little bit toward the end. But that was it. Like there wasn't a lot of filler or just side gags in this episode. It was just two very strong storylines.
Right. So we'll start with the Guillermo storyline. It's a continuation of his storyline of being related to Van Helsing and realizing that he's a vampire killer. So he returns to the Mosquitoes Club of the Tri-State County to meet up with the Vampire Killing Club. And kind of doesn't realize that they're going on their first official hunt. Were you surprised? Did you know this would continue?
No, I loved his I'm going back to infiltrate and sabotage them from the inside. And I was like, I should have seen that coming. But then when Claude, the group's leader played by Craig Robinson, when he announced we're going on our first hunt, I was like, you all are not ready for that, by any means. So Guillermo being the strongest member of the club, if he was shocked, I was shocked as well.
Right. And it was the entire time it was, him freaking out, especially when they revealed that they were going to go to a house that had some topiary that I forgot her name. She couldn't pronounce.
Oh, that was Shanice?
Shanice. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Shanice.
Yeah, and not only that, but they mentioned they were going after Jenna's sires. So that is our group of vampires.
Right. So, Guillermo's out of breath. He can't breathe.
Exercises.
He's doing the breathing exercises. And we realize that it's not his house. So he's kind of allows him to become a hero.
Well, it's funny because he realized it wasn't their house and he was super relieved that okay, I don't have to do this double agent thing. I will just call it a night. But then they decided to commit breaking and entering. And so he was nervous for that, completely unvampire related reasons, was freaking out all over again. But then when he and Shanice are upstairs and they realize that they actually are in a vampire's den, and one of terrifying vampires, not the goofballs back home, but those really sinister looking twins who were just darting all over the background.
Right. Right. We had the twins. We had a dead bride. We had. I know you had seen him, the 70s vampire, kind of in the bell bottoms.
I wish I could remember what album they were listening to, but there was one guy who had a vest and chains and was yeah.
Oh, that's
with
right.
Big glasses on. They were having a time in their life.
Right. That house was packed.
Yeah, it was. So when the vampires first started coming out, I was like, oh, they're doing a Dark Shadows reference. This is where the 1970s vampires live. But then just more of them kept popping up. And then I realized this isn't just a goofy set of 70s vampires. There's the undead bride you mentioned, and just sarcophagus after sarcophagus, caskets opening up everywhere. It was just this massive den that just happened to be wearing 70s clothing.
Yeah. What I think is funny is in this entire series run, we've never really, excuse me, I sort of remember them addressing the fact of there being other vampires in the Staten Island area. We know that there were wolves and other animals, but I don't know if we ever specifically knew about this other group of vampires.
Yeah, the last time that our vamps went out to mingle with other vampires, it was at that nightclub, and when they were talking about where you at, oh, we're in Staten Island, and they're like, oh, really? And the familiars in that same episode, there was one who confused Guillermo for master for a different so-and-so of Staten
Right.
Island, but it seemed like it was few and far between. That Staten Island was not the place to be for the vamp community.
I kind of wish there was like some fun, cheesy map of the tri-state area that had where everyone lived. I think that would be funny.
Yeah.
So Guillermo goes in. He's out of there and he's like ready to leave, but he's like, no, I got to go in and save everybody.
Yeah, which is a little surprising because if he is there to sabotage the group, honestly, why should it matter to him that these vampire hunters walked into their own hubris and are being slain for stepping way outside of their limits? But no, he goes in and rescues almost all of them, which
Yeah.
he's teetering further and further into being a real Van Helsing.
Right. Perhaps it was because he didn't want to have to return the van himself. Back to the ant.
The one guy who died on the mission is the one who had to return the van.
Right. But the best thing of that whole storyline was Guillermo falling backwards out the window, doing a double flip off to the vampire.
Yeah. He's a badass. Guillermo is a total badass.
He is, until he goes back and Nandor's scared and basically he tells Guillermo, please watch over me. You left us alone. Thanks a lot. Now watch over me till I fall
We dealt
asleep.
with a really scary thing here. We could have died. Also, there's these rumors of vampires getting killed everywhere.
Yeah, right. All right. So the other big storyline, which I thought was so funny and so nerdy, was Nandor deciding to go through old correspondence. He starts with his old box of correspondence. The first thing I think of is, how is it that he's reading this old correspondence that's probably in his old native language when the last episode he didn't remember the old native language? That's one of those.
A very good observation.
I think next time we have Taika Waititi and the cast somewhere, somebody needs to go up to the mic, push their glasses towards their nose, and ask that question. Remember in episode 4, so that'll probably be me. So he asked Guillermo to use his laptop to check his email from the last 10 years. He checks his Hotmail. The fact that he has only 2 emails, totally not possible.
That's astonishing. Absolutely.
It's astonishing. One's a Fandango screening from 2009, and the other one is a spam email, a forward email to 10 people.
How do you get one junk email and one spam email? That's just uncanny.
Yeah, there's that would be the second question I would ask to Taika Waititi. I'm going to push up my glasses, get back in line, and be so disappointed when they don't let me come and ask the second question. You can tell I'm missing the fact that we're not having a Comic-Con and the chance to do that.
Yeah.
Ask a dumb question. So Nadja and Laszlo join in on the hijinks of trying to find 10 email addresses so they can forward this email and not have the curse suffer the fate of Bloody Mary.
Yeah, and they have to do it by sunrise.
And they have to do it by sunrise. So they ask Colin, and Colin will give them his work address with caveats. They find a Circuit City card. Oh my God, that was funny.
Yeah, I was amazed that the Circuit City email didn't get rejected the same way that the Bloody Mary email address did. That's still in effect.
Yeah. And
Colin not being helpful, but not too helpful, is to just give them 10 emails.
Right.
I was shook how funny this whole thing was. I remember seeing in the promos and they had like the mailer demon joke and I went, oh, that's cute. But this whole episode was built on these puns of mailer demons and curses. I just thought it was hysterical.
Which are real things. These kind of mailer demon things are things that you are part of the behind the scenes of emails. So they've been around. So, that's how it works.
All familiar. I just didn't realize it would be so funny to have them deal with it.
It was a great episode. We could talk about how funny it was the whole time, but I want to get to our news, and I believe we have a special news graphic.
Yes, we do. So she was mentioned in the episode, even though we didn't see her, but Jenna, played by Beanie Feld scene.
Hmm.
Beanie's doing great work right now. Was she captivated audiences with her performance in Lady Bird, and she got a Golden Globe nomination for Booksmart. She's really making a name for herself, and I guess now she's going to play the lead in a new Broadway. I think it's a musical. I just always assume it's a musical, but
Yeah.
she's playing the lead in a Broadway show about a lonely British teen who is thrown into the world of rock journalism. It's very glitzy, which to me suggests musical. It's called How to Build a Girl. Uh, it's a semi-autobiographical novel by Caitlin Morin, and it follows this 16-year-old, which is what Beanie is going to be playing. Her name is Johanna Morgan, as she tries to find direction in her life and lands a spot working for a rock magazine. And gets so caught up in that whole scene that she goes through some less than nice personality changes. So she's doing a fantastic job. And when this is all wrapped up, she's going to be playing Monica Lewinsky in the 3rd season of American Crime Story. So
wow,
she is on a meteoric rise right now.
You know, she is the sister to Jonah Hill.
Is she?
I learned that recently.
I
Yes.
had no idea. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
hope we see her again on the show.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine she'll be back. I mean,
Yeah.
they keep reminding us, the audience, about her, so it only makes sense that she'll appear again.
Right. So
I feel like that might be the final standoff with the Mosquito Club. Anyway, if you guys want to check out what I found was an interview with Beanie from the Sarasota Herald Tribune, which is my hometown newspaper. I don't know how they managed to get this interview, but they did, and it's a really in-depth interview for the few questions they got to ask her. So you guys can check that out online.
Very cool. So speaking of you people out there, we want to say thank you so much for watching us. We are the ESPN of TV talk. It seems like we're kind of the only kind of ESPN talk going on.
Oh, that's a very good point.
But we want to thank you for watching us and sharing what we do in the shadows and our other shows. Keven and I have we worked on Tales from the Loop, which was an amazing Amazon show. We've each worked on other after shows. If you love what we do, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, send us cookies, but make sure they've been UV lit for at least 20 minutes, right? You wanted to add something else? I saw your hand raised.
You mentioned we did other shows. I just wrapped our after show with Dispatches from Elsewhere, and the fans were a huge part of that. So to the point where we had some guests on the final episode last minute.
Very
cool.
And
we did it because our fans are amazing. And so you guys, just like Lauren said, not only have you made us the ESPN of TV talk, but you've made us the most ESPN thing out there right now. So thank you very much.
Yes. All right. Perfect. Let's move on to a special segment. So I'm excited because we have a special segment. I think we can cover the rest of the season. I'm calling it What We Do in TV and Movies.
Okay.
It sounded funny as I typed it, but now that I'm saying it out loud, it needs some work.
What we do behind the scenes.
What we do in the TV movie show. I don't know.
Anyway, this is Overlooked. I think that's the best title. I think you have the best title.
All right. This is Overlooked vampire-themed movies and TV shows. And something that Keven, you had suggested that I did a little research on was a soap opera that was on the ABC network back from 1966 to 1971 called Dark Shadows.
Yes.
Now, I always thought that this was the thing that came on right after The Twilight Zone when I was a little kid. But I think that was a different show. But still, anything back then in black and white was scary as everything when I was a little kid. Especially vampires and werewolves and things. So this was a soap opera that depicted the lives, loves, trials, and tribulations of the wealthy Collins family of Collinsport, Maine. Now, for the first 10 months of the show, it wasn't very popular. Kind of like the first few seasons of Seinfeld, nobody was watching it. But just like NBC wanting to keep the show going and have the followers join in, they came up with the idea of bringing in a vampire, Barnabas Collins. And Barnabas Collins proved to be so popular that he remained a part of the show for the rest of its run.
So he wasn't originally part of the show?
No.
The vampire element wasn't originally a feature of Dark Shadows?
Well, he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't a feature of Dark Shadows. I think
Wow.
the show had supernatural occurrences,
Mm-hmm.
but he was the one that really made it famous.
I had no idea.
So there were ghosts, werewolves, zombies, man-made monsters, witches, warlocks, time travel, parallel universes. This sounds rad.
Yeah.
Um, and what's really interesting, a small company of actors, each played many roles, and as actors came and went, some characters were played by more than one actor.
Oh,
Very
interesting.
cool, huh?
Yeah,
Dark
that's
Shadows was
impressive.
ranked number 19 as TV Guide's top cult show ever in 2004, and then in 2007 it was ranked 23. Um,
Wow.
so
That's
and
in 30 years it dropped 3 spots. That's
in
incredible.
yeah, it's amazing. So Collins first appeared in the 211th episode of the series, meaning there were 10 months of episodes before that. But the word vampire was not uttered until episode 410.
What? That's crazy.
These are some facts from metv.com. So
Yes, yes, they
I
do.
love this kind of crazy info. You would have no idea unless you were seeking it out or doing an after show and needed to fill a special segment time frame.
Well, so you mentioned that you like just found this all out. Like literally 2 days ago, I was reminded of like the whole history of Hollywood and how in the 60s, films weren't doing so well. Like the safe popcorn flicks that had been dominating movies since its inception were starting to fade away because of television. So mom and pop and their kids weren't going out to the theater, but teenagers were. And that's what brought in all the weird stuff in the 70s. So the reason that 70s became all about like exploitation films and horror and sci-fi was because it was the weird nonsense that the teenagers were really into. And literally, as you were talking earlier, I started to look up because there were way more vampires than the cast of Dark Shadows in that house. I was like, who else might have been in there?
Right.
I had no idea how prevalent vampires were in the 1970s. There was, I mean, Dracula, son of Dracula, Lady Dracula, Blackula, Count Dracula, Countess Dracula. They're one of my
Count
favorite ones I found
Chocula.
on here. Yeah. There was a Spanish Dracula. There was Daughter of Dracula, Doctor Dracula. There was a Doctor Acula, and it was made in the 70s. Um, on top of the TV shows that we like Salem's Lot and Dark Shadows, and
Right.
this was my favorite. I found out there were like parodies of vampires because they had become so prevalent by the end of the 1970s. There was
Right.
Quackula, which was a Mickey Mouse cartoon. There was the Flintstones meet Rockula and Frankenstone. Um, and then there was some serious stuff too, like Kolchak the Night Stalker. Vampires were huge in the
Yeah.
70s.
So next week I'm going to talk about a famous American comedy from 1979 starring a very tanned actor, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, very, very cool. Of course, we've got when you talk about movies from the 70s for teenagers, we've got Attack of the Killer Tomatoes,
Oh yeah.
and then
Oh
we've
no, and the list
got
goes on.
Motel Hell, where there yeah. Oh, anyway, we could talk about
Some
that
of the other
forever.
ones that like I found in this list are things like there's Nosferatu, real
Yeah,
classy, but then it's like
yeah.
the vampire hookers, the bloodsuckers, Legend of Blood Castle, the horrible sexy vampire. That's the name of the movie.
Okay.
The one I'm interested in is guess what happened to Count Dracula. Comedy, I love it.
Well, see if you can find some more, and then
Yes.
we'll talk about that next week when I talk about that movie. Finally, let's move on to our last thing, and I don't know if we
Mhm.
have a cool graphic for this thing. We're going to go to predictions.
And now, your
Oh, there's a
AfterBuzz
cool graphic.
TV
Oh, there is.
Yes,
Okay.
there is a cool graphic. Predictions. Well, much to my surprise, I feel like Guillermo is going to get further and further into the Bloodsuckers Tri County Mosquito Club or whatever. Like he saved them. He is a member of the team, and they might be a secondary family to him. Uh, I have a feeling he will inadvertently train them just through sheer observation, maybe, and they'll be out in the world hunting vampires, and he's really going to be torn. we might get some dramatic stakes down the road.
Oh, is that
Steaks.
a pun? Your
Yeah,
steaks?
it's a pun now. Yep.
Got it. You really sunk your teeth into that pun. Thank you.
Thank you.
My prediction, it's funny, I don't really feel like there's a need for any of these characters to really go anywhere, do anything except just doing what they're already doing. We know that in a previous episode, Naja, is still talking with her friend, her old self, her ghost self.
Oh, right. She was
So
back.
we haven't revisited that, but I love that these guys just come and go into the house and have things happen to them, and they just chat.
Yeah, I mean, what the main household is doing is just their everyday stuff. They don't have jobs or goals or anything long term at all.
Yeah.
They're hundreds of years old. They've done long term now. They're just waiting it out.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to think anything beyond Guillermo. What else might happen to this cast of characters more so than their day-to-day lives?
Well, it's just like when Guillermo called them in the van with a panicked message to get out, which they interpreted as more evidence of the curse. That's the moment I was like, this is my favorite episode. This is quality TV writing.
Right, the curse of the Bloody Mary, yeah.
Yeah, the way that those storylines crossed over was just magnificent.
Right. All right.
Yeah, it's Guillermo's exploitations are what's going to give them something to do.
Yes, of course. All right, so unless there's anything else you want to talk about, Keven.
No, that was it. I just wanted to mention that
yeah,
moment.
we could gab forever. So we want to thank everybody for watching the show. Where, Keven, can people reach you on the socials?
You can reach me at my Hotmail account, as well as Twitter at Keven Allen Says, and Instagram at Keven Allen Graham.
And if we go back in time to my college days in the 90s, you can reach me at ucsvax.edu. Oh my God, I can't believe I remember my very first.
That's impressive.
Part of my very first. That was days before browsers. But today you can find me at my Yahoo. Oh my God, I still have a Yahoo account. You can find me on my Instagram at Lauren Kling, LORENKLING. Shout out to us. Let us know if you're watching the show. Tell us if, I don't know, what you've been watching, your favorite vampire type shows. We'd love to hear. Put it in the comments. Let us know. Phone a friend, 50-50, whatever. I've been watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So anyway, from all of us at AfterBuzz TV, goodbye, Keven. Thank you.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.